Welcome back. And we talk about one great boon. In the midst of everything happening, there are still a few things we have to celebrate. And Ghana has been selected as the world capital, the world book capital, if you like, 2023 by UNESCO. But what exactly does that mean? And what do we stand to gain from all of this? In fact, what are we going to be doing in the course of this year? Because it's a year-long activity, a year-long achievement. Well, joining us this morning, we have Aaron Chum Akwabwa. I nearly said Akabwa. Akwabwa. He is Director, Strategy and Innovation at the Ministry of Education. He joins us for a conversation. Mr. Akwabwa, a very good morning to you.
Very good morning to you.
This morning, my oral faculties are trying to get around the Kwa. I don't know why this morning, because it's a name that I am pretty familiar with, but Akwabwa.
Yes, please.
It's good to have you. I believe this is the very first time we're interacting on the air.
First time to be on Joy News. Thank you all for having us.
Great. How did we attain this feat? I know your team, together with others, put together a whole lot. You actually had to put in a bid, right?
Most definitely. And so several countries or cities bid, obviously. And what we did is we have an interministerial and agency committee led by the Ghana Book Development Council, put together just a fantastic dossier to pretty much win over UNESCO and the committee so that Accra could be chosen as the World Book Capital. And I want us to think about it as the World Cup for reading. That's how big of a deal
this is. The World Cup for reading.
Yeah, you got to think about it that way.
Wow.
And this is the 22nd year that has happened. The inaugural city was Madrid in 2001. And so we're one of 4 countries in Africa to receive the World Book Capital, and actually the only 3rd city in sub-Saharan Africa, joining Guinea and Nigeria as representatives from sub-Saharan Africa, and Egypt being the other African nation. So we received this honor even before the United States, before Germany, before Russia, before China. So this is a very, very big deal as far as representing our culture and our education system in Ghana through literacy and through reading.
All right. Now tell us, you've told us that it's the World Cup of reading
yes,
or
please.
books.
Yes.
But what does it mean in real terms? Because someone would say, yeah, well, so we're going to be this for a year, but what does it come with? What does it mean for Ghana?
So I really want to talk about like our thematic areas. First, let's start with our theme and what it represents, our thematic areas, and how we're going to actually see some levels of benefit from this process, right? So our theme is reading to connect minds for social transformation. And this actually should be social economic transformation. So again, we're going to read to connect minds for social transformation. Now, one thing that you obviously understand as a journalist is the absolute need for the ability to read well, write well, and communicate well. So first of all, we're going to transform minds and promote lifelong learning through a series of reading promotion activities throughout the country. So there's going to be like a bombardment of activities happening where communities are going to see more reading, see more literacy, and have opportunities to engage with reading at a level that we haven't done before. Secondly, we're going to be providing schools and communities with books and reading infrastructure. One of the biggest things that I've heard since I moved back to Ghana about 1.5 years ago was, we can do all these things, but we don't have the infrastructure at this point in time. So this is being a situation we're going to be able to provide several communities, especially throughout Greater Accra, because Accra is the book capital. So with these books, with the infrastructure, and we're going to construct a facility in Accra for reading and creative writing. So it's great that you read, but you may be reading someone else's ideas and thoughts. So we actually need to do more of our own writing as a country and more of our creative writing. We need to express creatively who we are as Ghanaians. Next, we're going to really focus in on the publication and use of Ghanaian language to revamp the Ghanaian book industry. We are doing something in our book industry that needs to be reversed. We are bringing in things from outside so much. I realize that even though Ghana is a British writing country, I've seen that we're slowly starting to do things where we write like the Americans do because our books are coming from there. Because even our computers are programmed with that
so
language.
The spellings are also changing. Color with a U, without a U.
I thought coming from the US to Ghana, I would have to change, but I didn't have to. And that's not how it should be, right? And also Ghanaian language is being lost in the creative sense of it all. Like I haven't heard or seen too many books in Cree, in Dagomba, in Krobo, in the languages that we all came from, right? And we call it mother languages. So we came from these languages, but we're not doing as much as we should. So World Book Capital is going to focus on that. And in addition to that, we're going to promote creative skills to address rising unemployment and substance abuse and truancy in schools. The idle mind is the devil's workshop.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it again. The idle mind is the devil's workshop. Is the child is too busy at the community center reading, they can't do those vices.
They can't engage in those vices.
Exactly. If the child is too busy learning how to program a robot, they will not be doing those other vices. So that's what World Book Capital is really going to focus in on.
I see. So it's interesting. You've brought up these thematic areas. We'll be looking at a few other things. So the theme is reading to connect minds for social transformation, the Accra World Book Capital 2023. And then you go on to talk about the 6 broad thematic areas.
I didn't get to the last.
Yeah, you not got to the last one, but go ahead if you.
So also it's about promoting fundamental human rights. So for example, we in our committee meeting yesterday, someone said, His Excellency the President is also the president of the Calle. He's also the president of the street children. So we have to understand that we have street children, we have individuals who cannot read and don't have literacy. They lack power and freedom. And they lack the ability even to protect themselves. When you can read, when you can access material, everything needs an application. Yeah. So if you can't read it, then you can't apply, therefore you can't be a part of. We don't want anyone to miss out in this process. And then lastly, it's about Ghanaian arts and culture. I remember being a young man living in the United States and watching tapes of Asofo, watching tapes of Obra and those type of things.
How do you find those?
Oh, it's funny because it's interesting. I was able to get everything Ghanaian in the States. In my own household, to make extra money, we would make kenke and chito, you see, in California. But you come to Ghana and we're eating fried rice. We're losing our culture. It's not to say that we cannot have those other things coming from other parts of the world, but we're putting those things above us. And that's what this is going to do. World Book Capital is going to hopefully re-spark that feeling of let's write our own plays. Let's write our own movies. Let's connect and make culture academic.
So you feel this is going to impact creativity in Ghana, both from the Anglo point of view and from the traditional language point of view. And how are you going to manage that?
Oh, fantastic. So we are actually supporting publishers to publish in Ghanaian language, as we discussed, right? Okay. We're also bringing everyone in the publishing community in Ghana on board to the committee. Every single major publishing committee, union, whatever you want to call themselves, are in our committee. I'm sitting there with Ghana Book Development. I'm sitting there with Ghana Library Association. I'm sitting there with the private publishers and having these conversations. The people who approve our textbook, NACA, is on the committee. So we are actually saying, and we're using expert knowledge from the business industry side and from academia. Listen, I'm academic. I'm a history teacher by trade, master's in curriculum and instruction, but we're not the end all and be all. We need the practitioners there also to talk to us. And so that's why I think it will happen and it will come to fruition.
Now, coming from where you sit, you would look at the contribution of our government. And of course, without government support, the support of the ministry,
yes,
we'll go nowhere with this.
Yes.
And I'm sure some of those were taken into consideration before even considering giving us this title of being the World Book Capital for 2023.
Of course.
Go ahead. What then has support from governments and been like, and what in the course of this year are we hoping the support will be like in rolling out, in achieving these thematic areas that you have mentioned? It will take a lot of work and a lot of capital as well to bankroll this.
Okay.
What role will our government play? What role will UNESCO play in all of this, in aiding us get to? I mean, it reminds me of when that ship that goes round the world with books, you know, it docks here every few years, comes to Ghana. So now, let's say it is going to dock here for a full year. How do we make the most of it? What is government doing? What is UNESCO going to do?
Okay, so first of all, I do want to talk about government. I also want to start with, and that's going to support talking about our inaugural event. So our inaugural event is April 24th, 2023, so in about
That's just about 10 days away.
10 days away from now. And the keynote speaker is His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo.
Right.
And so the president is highly engaged and involved in this process. And he is the education president. Like, he just is. Like, and so with that being said, like you also mentioned, there's no way that UNESCO and the committee would have given us the ability to be the World Book Capital if we did not show capital. So we've already proven to them that there's going to be huge levels of investment. And so, like we talked about, the infrastructural pieces in Greater Accra and throughout the country, the support that we're going to be providing teachers in training and things of that nature, the resource building and gathering. And also what UNESCO really does, they do a fantastic job of supporting us, especially Ministry of Education and Ministry of Culture, with technical advice. And with technical advice coming from Ghanaians. So when we hear UNESCO, we think of an international body that is coming in with all these other individuals, but the bulk of UNESCO Ghana is Ghanaian. And so we have high-level academic people, high-level practitioners who are going to be providing technical advice. So I'm not going to get into the weeds of exactly what government is doing. I'm not a government official. I am here to represent the committee, but I will say this, that there is a deep and high-level commitment. There's no way for us to get the sign-off to be the World Book Capital without that level of commitment from government, and also UNESCO is there to support us with technical support and advice, and with all of the positives and challenges that the other 21 nations have faced throughout this process, we are in really good shape. I'm very happy that we're number 20-something instead of number 1, because we get to learn all the lessons.
I only ask that from the backdrop of many things that happen in this country. So for example, there's a library in Airport close to the Zenith Bank that is for children. Some of us spoke about it for a while. It was opened, launched, if you like, and whenever I pass there, it is empty. Again, nobody is there. So I don't see it running. I get that. I'm only using that as an example. So as we seek to actualize this, I'm supposing those are areas where, because it's in a sprawling community, we can do a lot more to ensure that the same things you're talking about, kids having access and rather choosing to read instead of engaging in any other vices, that would actually be actualized, so to speak. But so in the course of this year, can you give us a breakdown of what the plans are, what we're going to be doing from the 24th, when Mr. President, sets the tone for this at the Accra International Conference Center?
Yes, please, at the Accra.
To when? When next year, or when at the end of this year?
No, April 23rd. So
April 23rd.
So April 23rd is the World Publishers Day, and so that's when we usually.
So in the next year.
Yes. So we. Okay. The reason why it doesn't start in January is that April 23rd is World Publishing Day, right? And so what we did, what UNESCO does is that we almost always kick off on the 23rd. Only issues the 23rd this year is on a Sunday. And so we're going to go immediately on the 24th and go all the way into the next year. The Strasbourg, so Accra is going to be handing over to Strasbourg in April of 2024. So it's going to go across for a whole nother 365 days, right? And so some of the things that we'll be having are cultural fairs. So again, I also want to make sure that I really do talk about our leadership from the Ministry of Culture and Tourism, because it's not just Education Ministry who's taking the lead on this. It's interministerial. Obviously, we have a lot of different people coming in. Matter of fact, before I forget, I have to say hello to the mayor of Accra, Her Excellency, because she's a major part of this process. AMA is a major part of this process too. With that being said, we're talking about culture fairs. We're talking about revitalizing some of the libraries and issues that we were discussed, right? You don't have to keep building new ones if you have the ones that are already there, right? We're talking about engaging with community members and community advocacy programs. We're talking about using continuing education agency to support those individuals who are not in school already and are not reading. So there's a long, giant list of things that we're going to be happening every week or so throughout the year. And I could send you that breakdown later. But if I sat here and listed everything, we wouldn't get off the air.
I get the point. The government has committed, though, to implement sustainable solutions, including digitalization or digitization,
exactly.
basically. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
So really simply, This thing is physical, right? And I could get it wet and it could fall apart. It could do A, B, C, and D. What you're working on, and they can't see your laptop, but it's there, right? You're working on something that's digitized, that could stay around forever. And so that's part of the process there. Don't want to get into the technical ins and outs of it all, but our goal is to digitize as many of our traditional books and our like our folk tales and things of that nature as humanly possible. To also, the thing about digitalization too allows us to do things at a distance, and it makes it easier for us, and it ends up costing less. We need to be more efficient with our money, and when I say we, I mean the world. This isn't a Ghana issue. This isn't an Africa issue. It's about the whole world. If you have a million Ghana cities, there's you can print a bunch of books and destroy a bunch of trees, and you'll get your books people will read, or you can spend the money on consultants who digitize so people can see it anywhere and everywhere.
So in terms of what boons we can gain from this, you've already started mentioning some of them, but to the ordinary Ghanaian who is watching us right now and thinking, okay, it all sounds very interesting. How at the end of April next year would Ghana have benefited from all of this? What are the potential rewards, apart from having this World Cup of, reading or book reading in Ghana for the next
I like that. I think year. There's a big, I love the word sustainable because this is more long-term than short-term, right? So first of all, we're going to have a stronger book writing and publishing industry. We're going to be in a position where we're not facing cultural colonialism. The British don't live here anymore, right? They don't put us on slave ships anymore, but we behave and act in a certain way that may be against what we have done in our own cultures forever, right? So that's number one. This is a spark or to rejuvenate that feeling of Ghanaian culture, especially in the written word. And living in the world that we live in today, if it isn't written down, it doesn't exist, right? So that's number one. And actually, in addition to that, let's talk about things like our actual writers and authors and publishers. There's so many Ghanaians out there who want to be journalists, publishers, writers, authors who are like, this is not a viable job for me. But what if the publishing business gets that boom that we're discussing? What if the influx of capital and influx of support and technical assistance allows you to now have that job and to create more, which it will? And also, let's talk about individuals with disabilities, individuals where we are going to be able to digitize certain content so it can support certain people. We will be able to create certain content and do audiobooks and things of that nature for an individual who may not be able to see to read, right? So those are some boons that we can definitely look for. And then let's talk about the social and economic transformation as far as it comes to culture and the industry of culture, right? Because your films are your industry. We know about Bollywood and Nollywood and the rest, but what are we going to do and how can we have that support here? So when we are doing these kickoff events and we're doing all the events throughout the year, we're inviting the film industry. We're inviting the TV people. That's why I'm on here, to say, come on, come see what's happening here so that we can grow these industries. And also, at the end of the day, there's something about being able to project out. You see? I mentioned the fact that I grew up in the United States, and I remember being so proud of people like Azuma Nelson as a Ghanaian living outside. Now, because he was on TV boxing, there's certain individuals, you mention the name, and you're like, I'm proud to be Ghanaian because of that. There's going to be a connection with the diaspora. Now, guess what? If we're able to push these books, these movies, these cultural things out to Ghanaians outside of Ghana, to African Americans who want to come to Ghana, that is a gigantic boom towards tourism also.
Well, Aaron, it's been invigorating, basically. Anything about books. In fact, tomorrow, I'm participating in a readathon. I am a reading marathon somewhere in La, and I'm moderating one of the readings. So who knows? We've already kickstarted it ahead of you guys.
Wonderful. Now the thing is, you said somewhere in La. You should tell me. I might want to come.
Oh yeah. So I can. So here's the thing. I'm still getting details, but I know it's in La. I don't know the specific venue, but I know it's in La. So maybe when I get the details, I'll share with you as well. Yeah, so maybe we could meet that.
And there was one last piece, if I have a second left.
Go ahead.
I did want to talk about the physical construction of our reading and creative writing facility in Greater Accra. So we are going to build a actual facility. I know that Ghanaians really like the thing, want to see it.
Yeah.
And so the average Ghanaian will be able to have the tangible place there where we're going to be treating it like our STEM centers, where students and families and communities can come in and out of those, out of that facility. And so hopefully that can kickstart a larger process and push more infrastructure into those community centers. So again, that young people will have something positive to do as opposed to, well, we already talked about it.
Engaging in vices. Well, thank you so much, Aaron. Aaron Chum Akwabwa is Director of Strategy and Innovation at the Ministry of Education. He joined us, and it's all talk about Ghana being the World Book Capital for 2023. It's here. So how about we tap into it and make the most of that opportunity? Thank you, Aaron, for coming.